So I kind of reported on this a little bit on Friday, and then we hit it over the weekend. But we didn't really address it on the Millionaire Morning Show, so I want to take a different approach in Obama's strategy to completely tank Kamala Harris's campaign. Now, I don't think that it's anything that they can do right at this point. I heard that Kamala Harris is actually coming to Detroit on Tuesday, and I'll get into that in a minute. But let's just talk about Obama and his legacy and him doing the unthinkable to black men in order to try to drum up support for Kamala Harris. So for those of you that may not be familiar with what happened with Obama and where all of this started, it started by them basically saying and realizing that they're so down in the polls that they're about to lose. And so they brought out what they thought was the big gun in Obama. And then this is what he said. I'm going to play the full clip. And then I'm going to also switch over to CNN with a panel of black men to see what their reactions was to the whole situation, which I have not seen yet. And then we're going to break it down from there. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm. If y'all not subscribed to the channel, then do so. Let's get it rocking.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that
Look at the plants in the back.
Seen the same kinds of energy and turnout.
And they told all of the white people to get out of the view. I believe that this is 100% planned. And now that I'm watching it for a third and a fourth time, if you notice, they got all of the white people out of the room and they surrounded him with a bunch of black men. The camera angle is to only capture black men. It's not to capture black women. Black women is on the other side of the table. They got white people and all of these people that's a part of the Kamala Harris campaign. They got photographers that's white that's taking pictures and stuff. But they made sure that they had them up against black voters for Harris walls. You see the thing. Y'all don't realize that a lot of this stuff is planned and it's intentional, but they didn't intend for it to backfire. And so they got the young black man behind him with no facial hair, no mustache, no beard, no nothing. And he got the spiky hair and all of this stuff. And so they're planning this and they're marketing it to you because they want to have all of the subtle nuances behind him to market it to you to subconsciously affect how you're supposed to vote for Kamala Harris. Check it out.
In all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities, as we
Stay in the
saw
back, white people.
when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly.
Zoom out, show us the brothers.
And say that
Zoom out and show us the brothers. Show us all of the brothers. If you don't mind right now, I want to speak to the brothers. And then you got black voters for this and all of this other type of stuff in the background. Look at all of the symbolism around you to try to influence you and impact you on how you're supposed to vote. Look at all of the symbolism around you. They zoomed out as soon as he said it. Let them play the whole speech just so I can keep y'all up to date on what's going on, and then we're going to switch over to CNN's reaction.
when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land,
Given.
and is putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing to making sure that our mothers and our fathers and our grandparents can afford medicine, and making sure that we are dealing with prices that are too high and rents that are too high, and are committed to making sure that we maintain the Affordable Care Act, so everybody's got health care, and cares about things like education and entrepreneurship in our neighborhoods. And that's on one side. And on the other side, you have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out? I'm not. But, you know, because of Pookie might be. And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And I think anybody you are talking to in a barbershop, anybody you are talking to in your house, in your family, at church, who is coming with that kind of attitude, I think you have to ask them, well, how can that be? Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us,
there's so many angles we can take.
They're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down?
Putting women down.
That's not acceptable. That's not, this shouldn't even be a question.
So now you got the full context for those of you that have been living under a rock of what Obama did as he holds us accountable, us men's accountable for what we not going to do is vote for Kamala Harris. I'm sorry, Obama, my absentee ballot has already been submitted. So that is Obama, ladies and gentlemen. This is CNN's reaction to it with a panel of black men. Somehow they found a panel of black men to come in and have a debate over what exactly happened and what the repercussions are from Obama's speech. Check it out.
Is Obama in the wrong here with how he's talking about black men in particular and singling them out in this way?
Yeah, let's start from here. He is still the greatest living retail politician. He's objectively a top 15 president, but even he can swing and miss sometimes. And here
is Obama objectively a top 15 president of all time? That might have to be an after hours debate tomorrow. Is Obama objectively a top 15 president of all time?
He swung and missed. Here's what he did. Harris has been very strategic about when and how she's spoken about gender and race.
What's up with his hairline?
And he stepped on that. And when she hasn't spoken about it, he stepped on that message. And I think also with those comments, and there's more to this, but let me just start with this, is that he forgets, at least in that moment, that she doesn't get the benefit of being a historic first the way he did. She's a historic first woman if she wins.
Maybe that's part of the problem, that's what he's saying. Why doesn't she get the benefit?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to remember that this is a thing, like Barack Obama has a history of kind of chastising specifically black men. And like the question is whether what he said is relevant, right? Because there are a few black men, like there are a few white men who are more conservative than black women, and more white men are conservative than white women. But the point is, does this work, right? And there's no evidence that it's true or that it works. And he doesn't do that with, like, you've never heard him say, why don't you white women stop being racist and vote for me or Kamala Harris, or they don't talk to Hispanic voters or LGBTQ voters. It's only specifically black men that he takes this tact that doesn't work.
Why do you think that
because
is?
you know why.
No,
because
tell me.
The second most loyal, the most progressive group of men on the planet, they don't care about. They assume that they have their vote and they don't have to do anything for it. And the point of this is that if you don't vote for Kamala Harris and you're a black man, something must be wrong with you. That is the subtext of everything that they're saying.
Well,
And he's 100% right. He's 100% right. Honestly. Let's inject race into this for a second, because you know how I hate identity politics. You know how it rubs me the wrong way. You know why it bothers me, okay? But let's inject race into this for 1 second, because they do segment us and we do segment ourselves. And we also try to pick and choose when the code switch, when we're a part of the culture, when we're not a part of the culture. And it's something that aggravates me so much because, again, I rock with people just based off of the content of their character. I don't really care about the color of your skin at all. It means nothing to me. Now, gender, that may be a little bit different of a conversation. Why? Because I think that women are uniquely suited for greater things than men are in certain areas and vice versa. However, let's inject race into this conversation as Obama did and as these guys speak on it right now. And let's remove who it is that's saying it, and let's just look at it based off of optics and truth. The truth is that for a long time, and Kwame Kilpatrick said it on this couch and in conversations with me, he said, for forever, they already expect for you to be tied to the Democratic Party, which then removes the idea that you should ask for anything and you should just automatically get on code. Why? Because in the black community, that is a cultural norm. It's a cultural norm in our families. And it extends into everything that we do. It extends into business. It extends into politics. Quentin is an example of it. Sometimes we get on Quentin about how he's not tied into the culture, but why should it automatically be expected of him that he should automatically listen to rap music? Because you black? Why are we expected by default to vote for Democrats? Because we black? Because what that removes, when you're not independent, right? You could be more conservative. You can consider yourself a Republican. But the truth is that when you're not independent, they don't have to ask for anything, or they don't have to give you anything or require for anything, or you don't have an ask for them for your vote. All you got to do is look at how they're campaigning right now. For both the Republican and the Democrat side, they're only campaigning in the Midwest and swing states. Arizona, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. That's the only places that they're appearing in. Candidates have been in Michigan for the last 3 to 6 months more than we've seen Kamala Harris and Joe Biden the entire time that they've been in office. The only other time that we've seen Biden here in Michigan was when he was over here asking for the UAW support and endorsement for President of the United States of America when they were striking against the automakers. We haven't seen them in Michigan. Not in Detroit, not in Warren, not in Redford, not in Grosse Pointe, not in any of these cities. We haven't seen them. Tomorrow, Kamala Harris is supposed to be hosting a campaign with Charlemagne the God. Do you know how dumb that is? I'll get to that in a minute because we got another segment to address that. But the point is that why would they have to ask for anything when they've divided us against each other? Why would they have to ask us for, because they expect your vote. They expect for black women to vote for Kamala Harris. They expect for white women to align herself with Kamala Harris because you're a woman. They expect for black men to follow black women to the polls. And now that Obama has opened up this can of worms, it's exponentially worse for you guys, for Democrats, because it created more divisiveness. And I have never, ever in my life, let me tell y'all something real quick. And I'm going to be honest to God, truthful with you. I'm going to be absolutely truthful. I've never in my life, not one time, actually, let me change that. I'm going to be honest. One time in my life I've ever been called a racial slur by a white person. And it's came by way of Xbox Live. The only time I've been ever called the Nigger, the hard ER, is when I was whooping tail and taking names on Xbox Live and beating up this little white kid. And it came from a white kid. It came from a white kid. And I was like, I just started laughing. That junk was hilarious. And then he rage quit. Outside of that, and y'all know what I'm talking about, some of y'all old video game players, I don't play games no more, so I don't know what's happening. But outside of that, the only other time that I've ever been called out of my name in a negative way from a racial perspective, and it's probably didn't happen well over 100, maybe even 1,000 times now that I'm actually YouTuber. The only other time that I've ever been called out of my name is by a black person. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Let's have a conversation about it. The only other time that I've ever been called out of my name as far as race is concerned is by black people, black women and black men. They can't wait to call you anything associated with a sellout, a house N-word, a rat, Uncle Tom, Django. Real talk. The only other time that I've ever, listen, let's talk about it. The only time that I've ever been called out of my name, outside of the one little kid on Xbox Live who deserved a whooping, has come from black people that don't want to have a conversation about anything, but they automatically say you not on code, and they call you out of your name. They call you a race traitor. They call you all of these things. You a sellout. I can't believe you. Blah, 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 blah. And that's just the honest to God truth. Every person in here who's ever openly or willingly shared their opinion about not agreeing that they not under duress, that, oh my God, I don't necessarily need reparations, that I may be voting Republican, that I got white friends, you may have dated a white man or you may have dated a white woman, you can't bring her to Thanksgiving dinner because everybody is going to take her through the rigmarole and give her the third degree, so why you want to date my cousin? There are no greater open racists than black people who don't like white people. This is the only country, well, maybe not the only country. This is the only time in history, and it is a unique time in history that hopefully we look back on it and we say, y'all were some fools, where you can be an openly racist black person and get away with it. You can be an openly racist black person and get away with it. It's the only time. And it feeds into the problem with Obama, with what he said, because him holding us accountable with the expectation that we're automatically supposed to vote for Kamala Harris because of her alleged blackness is a problem. We can say some of the wildest things that nobody else can get away with because Black Lives Matters.
This is what I would say to this, because I was there when the NABJ interviewed Kamala Harris in Philadelphia, and what Kamala Harris said then was that you asked
somebody said prejudice isn't the word. No, it's racist. I said what I said. You can only be racist if you have any power to be able to do something that somebody else will. Tell that to Letitia James over there in New York when she went after Trump. Tell that to Kamala Harris when Fani Willis and Andre Dickens met with her in the White House before they ultimately filed the charges in Georgia. Don't tell me that you can't be racist because of your skin color. Bull. That's nonsense. I don't see nothing about that in the dictionary that it only applies to white people.
Question with the assumption that black men are in somebody's pocket. You can't make that assumption. Black men are just like any other group. They have their interests, and I'm working to get their vote. I don't expect to get it because I am black. I am working to get their vote. And that is what she said. And so I think we have to focus on what she said about black men. And I think we also have to focus on the fact that most black men are going to vote for Kamala Harris anyway. That is the reality. But I think that in talking to black people every day, which I do as a radio host, I've heard some black men say, I'm not voting for her because she is a woman. I have heard that. And I think that is reprehensible. I got to be honest.
Okay, so he's heard it. I mean, are we, when I say we, I mean the collective we as the
And let me be very clear. I'm never going to ever advocate for a woman to lead me. Not as a president of the United States of America, not in a job. Now, you may go into a job where you automatically have a woman boss, but if they're going to ask me, I don't want a leader, I'm never going to advocate for a woman to lead me. I wouldn't do it in my household, and I wouldn't do it as a president of the United States of America. Call it what you want. You can call it whatever you want. I don't need a woman to lead. You have to be so, man, listen, bro. Listen. I don't have to be politically correct. I'm going to say what I say, and I meant what I said. I am never going to simp and ask for a woman to lead me. Ever. Do I think that women can be great at what they do? Absolutely. I don't want a woman as the president of the United States of America. I don't care what Mexico is doing. I don't even like Mexico. It's too muggy, and they always got hurricanes down there.
country afraid to just talk about a thing?
I think
is
you can
Obama
talk
saying,
about it, but if you
calling
summon
a thing
Barack Obama to fix a problem, you have to wonder if this fixes a problem. If I am interested in getting Kamala Harris elected, then I am upset because he hurt the thing, the strategy that she was employing to win.
Well, I think part of what has to happen, though, is that you have to have that conversation in private. There are some things you talk about in the barbershop when there's no cameras, right? There's some things that you talk about at home. There's some things that are family business, and I think the mistake that Barack Obama made was to take family business in the street.
I didn't have a problem.
Let me let Coleman in there.
Shaming voters is a terrible idea. It was bad when Hillary Clinton did it with deplorables. It was bad when Mitt Romney did it on the eve of the election. Even if there's a grain of truth to it and there's the occasional radio caller that's going to admit to that sentiment, let's actually look at the fact that Biden was struggling with black voters, and that was a topic of conversation over and over again. So it's not about sexism.
Let's hold on one second. Let me take a look at this. Let's take a look at the numbers, because I think just to see what we're talking about here.
Nope, I like Mexican food. I don't like going to Mexico because they got a female president now.
There's been a progressive decline in overall support among black men and, to a lesser degree, black women for the Democratic nominee. Biden was doing better among black men than Harris appears to be right now, based on some of the better polling that looks at these demographics. So I guess the other part of this is, you're talking about keep the business private. You're saying he's messing up the strategy, but the numbers are the numbers. And he's trying to fix a numerical problem that she has, a math problem that she has.
He made it worse.
I agree with most of what you were saying, Solomon. I don't think the problem is that he spoke it out loud. I think the problem is that he singled out black men. In other words, there is a sexism component to this race. There was a sexism component to the Hillary Clinton-Donald Trump race. Right, if Trump wins, he will have only ever beaten women. I can't give you a...
Fi Brown says, Candace Owens is the only logical woman I wouldn't mind in a leadership position. She's dope. I love Candace Owens. I wouldn't vote for her for president of the United States of America. And a lot of times I think that Candace Owens goes dark. She 100% goes off the reservation. I seen what she did when she went after Steven Crowder. I didn't agree with it. I see what happens when she decides to black out. It goes left. And as much as I love Candace Owens, I would not vote for her to be my president of the United States of America, regardless of how much I enjoy her podcasts or how much I love her as a correspondent or a debater or any of that type of stuff. I think that Candace Owens absolutely goes dark, and she can't see some things clearly because I think that she may be emotionally triggered, and I think that she does a really good job of holding in her emotions. But no, I would not vote for Candace Owens to be my president of the United States of America. As much as I respect her and as much as I enjoy her, I don't want her leading me. I don't. Is she a better option than Kamala Harris? Absolutely. But would I want her to actually be the president of the United States of America? I don't want either one of them being president of the United States of America. Now, that has nothing to do with party lines. That's just the truth. That's just the absolute truth. I don't want, and I'm not saying that she would ever run, but I'm answering Five Brown's question because I think that the chat is my co-host for the show. I don't want Kamala Harris to run the United States of America, and I think she's done a horrible job, and she's proved that she's not worthy of the position in the first place. That's just a fact.
But sexism is in the mix here, but it's not black men specifically. I think it's men, not black men. And that, I think, is part of where Obama went wrong.
And I think we also have to look at numbers and actual statistics, right? Because all of those reliable polling has a small demographic of black men. You're talking about most of them poll at most 40, 50 black men, right?
Well, I don't think in this particular case, just to be clear about what we were looking at there, the exit polls were from the actual elections that we had, and then the Pew polling, Pew looks more closely at specific demographics,
right.
and they do that in a way that we, as a news organization, deem to be a reliable way of looking at this. Not every poll is reliable, but we think this one is.
We get it. The fact of the matter is, I think that it's basically done more harm than good. And what I really think is happening right now is now it's created more divisiveness amongst people and especially amongst black men. Because now you see, and if you look at these social media platforms, you see all of the simps and all of the haters and all of the betas coming out of the woodwork. They are out here in force and they are saying, I'll start it off. I'm a black man for Kamala Harris. And then you got these other racist guys and saying, yeah, that's because y'all want to stay subjected to the white man. And that's one of the reasons why y'all decide not to vote for Kamala Harris. But hey, ladies, it's some good black men out here. And they'll do the Derrick Jackson of y'all. They'll do the Umar Johnson. They'll play into your emotions. The fact of the matter is, again, I think that it's created more divisiveness, and I'm thankful for it. And the reason that I'm thankful for it is because it exposed their hand, the fact that they leaning on race in order to get themselves elected instead of policy. And I think that it's some uncomfortable conversations that we're going to have, and we're going to continue it tonight on The Q Show.